Hi, this is Sweet Life and I'm Natasha, back at it with the recipe for chicken noodle soup. I look forward to September every year because it's my birthday month and thus my week-long holiday. But also because I know that a few weeks later it's going to start cooling down and I'll be able to start wearing sweaters and eating soup. And I love soup. This past October and November, pretty much every week or every other week, I made some kind of soup, and one of my go-to favorites is chicken noodle soup. I love it. It makes me feel all warm and bubbly inside. I think it's absolutely perfect on a cold day. And once you get into winter, unfortunately right now the weather's kind of warm, which is disappointing, but it's the perfect thing to make on a quiet Sunday. When the weather's cold outside, especially if it's snowing, you come into a warm bowl of soup and it's like it warms you physically, but it also makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. And so this is how I make chicken noodle soup. Feel free to adapt it, do with it as you will.
Okay, so here I have 5 carrots. I haven't peeled them or anything like that, just washed them with some soap and water, rinsed them off really well. And all I'm going to do is just chop them up. So first off, cut off the tops, the bottoms on all of them. And then from there, I'm just going to chop them. Not too big, not too small. I would say maybe about a 1/2 inch or so is perfectly good. Just take your time chopping them. Watch your fingers because we don't want that in the recipe. Next up is the celery. This you really want to take your time rinsing because you can sometimes get sand in the bottom. I just cut about 6 stalks off of the bulb, chop it up about the same size as the carrot, the tops as well. You're good to go. If you have problems when it comes to chopping onions, you can try putting it in the freezer, running a little bit of cold water. People that wear glasses, usually it doesn't affect them that much. So pretty much here I have a medium to large size yellow onion and I'm just chopping it up. I peeled off the skin from the outside, just chopping it, like really just cubing it. So it's roughly about the same size as like the other vegetables. And now we're going to take the carrot, celery, and onion and place it in the bottom of a roasting pan. I've just lined the roasting pan with a little bit of foil for easy cleanup. And the vegetables are going to just form a bed really for the chicken. To this, I'm now going to add just a teaspoon, really like a tablespoon or so, of some minced garlic. On top of the bed of vegetables, I've now placed a chicken, which I've just seasoned very simply. A little bit of seasoning salt, some black pepper, blended seasoning. Put that in the fridge overnight just to let it marinate. And in addition to the other vegetables, I'm just going to add a little bit of mushroom. Nothing fancy, just your regular white button mushrooms that I've just sliced up. Just put it around the chicken, or if you want, you can put it under. Either way is fine. And this is just going to go into the oven now and roast 350 degrees until the chicken is fully cooked. While the chicken's roasting, I go ahead and get the noodles on the fire. Just into a pot with some salted water. I'm using egg noodles. You can use spaghetti noodles, just break them up. What kind of noodles you like, use them. Just something that's not too thick. I boil them separately so that they don't absorb too much liquid. So here I have the cooked chicken. And pretty much what I'm going to do from here is just to shred it, break it down. If you wanted, certainly you could use like the those roasted or rotisserie chickens that you can buy from the store, but I make mine at home because it has far less salt. So here I have the chicken. I take the skin off, but I'm pretty much going to use everything else. I take off the skin because it's like fatty. I feel like putting it into the soup, like who really wants to eat that? But the bones and stuff like that I reserve. The reason being that it adds more flavor to the soup. At this point, the chicken's cooked thoroughly. It's roasted at a nice low temperature, so it's nice and tender. It pulls apart very easily. Just shred the breast, shred the legs and all of that. And this I add to a pot. It's actually the same pot that I boiled the pasta in. I've just drained the pasta and put it off to the side. And I also have like the vegetables, so the celery, the carrots, all of that kind of stuff from the bottom of the pan, and all of that goes into the pot. It's just all going to cook together now, like it roasted together, and it absorbed the fat and flavoring and whatnot from the chicken as it cooked. But now it's all going to go into the pot, and it's going to cook together at a nice simmer and whatnot, and just blend those flavors together. Okay, so now here I have the shredded chicken in the bottom of the pot. And I'm just going to start building the soup from here. We have the vegetables from the bottom of the roasting pan, and we're not going to add that in. This is also part of why I put foil at the bottom of the pan. It makes it easy to clean the roasting pan, but also it makes it easier to add the vegetables to the pot. I just grab up the ends of the foil and just pretty much pour the vegetables and liquid and all that kind of stuff into the pot. It makes it really easy instead of trying to maneuver with this big baking pan or trying to like spoon it over. You just grab the ends, make like a little bundle package type thing, and just pour it all into the pot. Real easy. A little bit of the liquid got to the bottom of the roasting pan. And so with it now being lighter, I'll just go ahead and pour over that little bit of liquid, which just adds that much more flavor. That gravy that was kind of given off from the chicken pretty much becomes like your stock. And to the pot, we just add a bit of water. And this is pretty much the foundation of your soup. So into the pot, onto the stove, and just start giving it a stir. I have this on the fire, not too high, not too low, because this is going to cook for a while, just to allow those flavors to come together. Now, we previously seasoned the chicken and whatnot, but because we've now added a lot of water to the pot, we have to re-season it because it's going to be very bland, right? Like it's going to be watered down. So to the pot, real simple, just a few seasonings. The first of which is going to be seasoning salt. Just pour it in. You're going to salt to taste. You're going to let it cook for a bit and then just taste it along the way. So nothing crazy, just some seasoning salt. After that, go ahead and give it a stir. Get the spoon down to the bottom and make sure you get into the chicken, into the vegetables, that you really get them moving around in the pot. Now, don't form a whirlpool or a tornado or anything like that. You don't need such a vigorous stir. But it's really just to make sure that the seasoning, the flavors and all of that are well distributed throughout the pot, that everything's getting a little bit of love from this like salted liquid, so that when the soup is finished, you don't have some of the soup that's like overly salty, some of the soup that's bland. You want to make sure that it's like really nice and evenly seasoned. Everything has flavor. Gonna keep building from here. Add a little bit of black pepper, again, to your taste. And just give it another stir. Each time you add a new spice or ingredient or something like that, you want to go ahead and give it a stir just to make sure that it gets nicely blended throughout. As you can see, when I first added the pepper, like it all gathered in the middle of the pot. If you were to just leave it, you might not have like even flavor throughout the soup. Never mind that it's liquid. So you just take the spoon, you just stir it about and whatnot. I give it a taste. Now, granted, I don't taste directly from the soup spoon, from the pot spoon. Rather, I get like a little teaspoon or a tablespoon and I pour it into there. I think that's especially good practice to use if you're not just cooking for yourself. Go ahead, just keep stirring and stirring. Give it another stir. Give it another stir. Grab another spoon, give it another taste, and you're good to go. Just keep building from here. And now, while the soup is kind of like a foundation, you can adapt as you need. Sometimes you taste it. It might need a little bit more salt. It might need a little bit more black pepper. You might decide, last time you made it, you seasoned it very simply. But this time you want to add in some herbs. You want to add in some different spices. You might decide that even in roasting the chicken, that you'd like to add some kind of different flavor there. It's like, this is the basic level here. But from here, you can adjust it to your liking. Especially after you've made it like once or twice and you think you have a good handle on it, go ahead and experiment. If there's certain flavors that you really like, go ahead and add that in. If there's something that you don't like, go ahead and leave it out. Sometimes what I do, because I like things a little bit more spicy, is that I'll go ahead and now add a little bit of garlic chili sauce to the pot. So it'll give it a little bit of kick. Other times I might add in some herbs. So maybe a little bit of oregano, a little bit of thyme, dried or something like that. You might want to go with other seasonings, other dried seasonings that you like, maybe like a leaf of rosemary or something like that. Instead of white button mushrooms, you might decide to go with brown. You might decide to add other vegetables into the soup. You might decide to try other noodles. Really, the sky's the limit. With this kind of stuff, it's like you start off from the basic recipe, but then you adapt it to your personal taste. What do the people in your house like? Go from there. In this case, I'm adding a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder, just other flavorings to add to the soup. Never mind that I've added fresh onion, I've added fresh garlic. I find that adding the powdered version, it just helps to punch up the flavor. It helps to add to the complexity. So when you get to the end, you have like a really nice, flavorful soup that's complex. And you taste it, it tastes really great. You know, hopefully you get some compliments, but it's really not that hard to make, right? Just a few basic steps. Take your time and you're good to go from there. If you want, you can actually make things a little bit easier for yourself, where, like I said, if you wanted, you can certainly buy a rotisserie chicken from the store, from like the grocery shop. That's up to you. But just be mindful of the salt. In addition to that, you can work ahead. Go ahead and roast the chicken the day before. So that way you get up, whatever it is that you have to do, or like if you want to make this when you're coming in from work or something like that, you can pick up a chicken from the store, you can roast the chicken the day before. So when you start making the soup, it's really just having it come together in the pot. You know, it makes it easier for you to manage your time. Now, the chicken and the vegetables are cooked as we roasted them in the oven. At this point, we can go ahead and add the noodles after allowing the soup to simmer for a while. Really, all we're doing with the liquid is just allowing it to pick up some of the flavor from the chicken and the other ingredients, adding some spices and things like that. And you just cook it at a low simmer until like the flavors come together. You have like the salt and everything right. I add in the noodles towards the end, and actually maybe about 5 or so, maybe 10 minutes before I'm ready to turn the fire off, at which point I just let it sit and simmer, pick up the rest of the flavor so that they don't become like overcooked. Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and check out my Cooking at Home playlist. Go ahead and click that thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.